Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Liberal Loudmouth. So today's video is about global birth rates, really, and in Japan's response to their low birth rates. I've got a video I'm going to show you, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Tokyo city government will give staff a 4-day week in an effort to boost Japan's declining birth rate. The country's population is expected to fall for the 16th year in a row, and municipal authorities hope that a 4-on-3 off work schedule could make childcare easier and less expensive, and in turn, the thought of parenting less daunting.
So Japan's response to this extremely low birth rate that they're experiencing is to essentially give everybody in the government a day off. And now they say it's for childcare and this, that, and whatever, but we all know what they're expecting people to do on that extra day off. I mean, come on. So let me go over just a little bit more information about the Japanese issue in this Economic Times article I have pulled up right here. Japan plans to give 3 weekly offs to everybody from next year to grow younger. Japan is currently facing a fertility crisis, with its birth rate dropping to a record low of 1.2 children per woman, far below the replacement rate of 2.1. In 2023, the nation saw only 727,277 births, with Tokyo's birth rate sinking even further to 0.99. This demographic decline has caused significant concern, as it is expected to lead to population reduction from 128 million in 2008 to an estimated 86.7 million by 2060. Now, here's an interesting graph. It shows all of the continents, and if you notice, the African continent is basically all above replacement levels. It's believed that in order to just replace and have a stable population, you need at least 2.1 births per woman. But here in the United States, we're down to 1.63. In Europe, all over, it's low, 1.5. Iran is 1.7. But here in Kazakhstan, it's 3.32. 3.27. Now, keep in mind that in countries that have high infant mortality rates, that number may need to be higher. So I don't know what each of their replacement rates are, but there's also cultural differences with here, whereas they have larger families. They tend to have more families. They marry earlier. They don't necessarily consider it pedophilia to mate with, a 13, 14-year-old girl, which in the United States and pretty much in every industrial nation, that's disgusting. But definitely some cultural issues there. Elon Musk talks about this all the time, that birth rates and population decline is the biggest issue to the possible extinction of humans. And I find it interesting that a billionaire is going to talk about population decline. Oh, we've got to do something about this. I say that because the billionaire class is really the reason why this is happening in the first damn place. I mean, think about it. Things have gotten so expensive these days that it's hard enough to put a roof over your own heads or put food in your own mouths, let alone 1, 2, 3 kids. And this is a direct result of transferring wealth from everybody else to the hands of these few billionaires that we have in the United States and across the world, really. And because they just want more and want more and want more, they won't raise wages. They don't make living all that easy. They want both parents to work constantly, because without 2 incomes in the United States, you're really not going to be able to afford anything, let alone having children. And so people are like, you know what? I don't even want it. And now the cultural differences, in one of those being the empowerment of women, has led to a shift away from, traditional marriage, which I can't say that I blame them, given the track record of how men have treated women over the course of history. Now, we can treat women perfectly fine and still have babies, but for some reason, a lot of guys don't want to do that. Now, what I fear is going to happen is that instead of the billionaires realizing, hey, maybe we should pay these guys more or have them work less for the same amount of money so that they will go ahead and have more babies. Instead of doing that, no, they're going to restrict birth control, and we're seeing that happen now. They're going to restrict abortions. We're seeing that now. They're going to reduce the age of consent. I believe the lowest currently is 16, and it used to be back in the 90s. It was 14 in a couple of states. I believe Hawaii and Georgia. So we're going to see all of these things unfold, and it's all going to be coming from the Republican Party. So they don't want you to have an abortion. They're not going to want you to use contraception. They're going to say that it's okay to go ahead and have relations with this 12, 13, 14-year-old person. I mean, look, we elected a president that palled around with the guy that did it all the time. Now, I don't know if they'll go that route, but I feel like once they have everything else in place in order to prevent women from being able to say, no, I don't want a child, and they'll ostensibly force them to have children, which I think is the goal, they may push for other things and say, well, Jesus made it so that you would bleed at a certain age, and if you're old enough to bleed, you're old enough to breed. I imagine this may be a talking point over the next 15, 20 years, unless we can kick these sickos out of power. And so they'll basically force you to have children instead of incentivizing you to have children by saying, hey, you can now work less because robots can do most of the jobs, and we can pay you more because production is like 300% above what it was, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And now we can just pay you money because your work has a lot more value and a lot more production than it used to. But they're not going to do that. They're just going to force you to struggle by no birth control, no contraception, no abortions, and you get to now sleep with kids. But in Japan, thankfully, they're taking a little bit of a different approach. They're probably doing this to test, to see if that actually helps, and then implement it throughout the entire country. But, capitalists are going to capital. They're going to demand that you go to work 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, and then by the time you get home, who the hell wants to even have sex at that point, let alone raise kids and stay up with a baby all night long because you and your spouse both have to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week just to put a roof over your head and food in your belly. And I also find it interesting that the same people who complain about population collapse also don't care about climate change. They're like, yeah, it's not a problem. It's fake news. It's fake news. But they're like, hey, you better have babies, but you got to do it in the right way. It's kind of weird, y'all. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Please let me know what you think in the comments section. Is population collapse something that you've even thought about at all? Is it a concern to you? And do you think that I'm right in my concern that Republicans are trying to strip power from women and to force them essentially to have more babies? Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you like this content, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I drop my next video. This is the Liberal Loudmouth, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.